If a word can move you, what does that say about your strength? Not your body, not your skills, your control. You think you're in charge because you speak loud, because you answer fast, because you always react. But power doesn't rush. Power doesn't need to respond. The louder you get, the more you leak. If someone can press one button and change your mood, they own that part of you. It doesn't matter how much you've built if anyone can shake it. Reaction is not power, it's exposure. Every time you snap, defend, explain, you reveal something unguarded, something weak. They didn't take your strength. You gave it away because you thought emotion meant depth. But real depth is silence. Not because you're numb, because you're stable. Emotional triggers are not flaws, they're open doors. Every time someone can get a reaction out of you, they walk through that door. No force, no violence, just control. This is emotional hijacking. When someone takes over your response before you think, you feel it, you react. But the reaction isn't yours, it's theirs. You handed it to them. This is what's called an external locus of control, when your emotions depend on what happens outside you. A tone, a comment, a delay. You let the world set your state. And most men do it without knowing. They get offended, corrected, ignored, and they explode or explain. Not to fix anything, just to feel like they matter. But that feeling is fake, because they didn't act. They reacted. You lose power like this every day, bit by bit. Not in big moments, but small ones. And you wonder why you feel unstable. If they can pull your strings, you don't own yourself. Power doesn't always leave in big moments. It leaks in the small ones. You check your phone, see a message you didn't like, and your whole mood shifts. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and now your day feels ruined. You explain yourself when no one asked. You raise your voice just to feel seen. You fight to be right even when you don't care about the point. These are the cuts. Quiet, constant, and sharp. Every time you react, you give something away. Not just peace, but presence. You stop leading and start chasing. You let the outside set the pace. You walk into rooms needing to be understood. You leave those rooms feeling smaller. Because power doesn't shout. It doesn't prove. It doesn't need to win small fights. When you react, you trade control for a moment of noise. And those moments add up. Until one day, you don't feel steady. Not because something big happened, but because everything small did. He wasn't loud. He wasn't cruel. But he always had to say something. If someone disagreed, he argued. If someone walked away, he followed. He needed to be understood. He needed the last word. He thought silence meant weakness. He thought stillness meant losing. Over time, people stopped listening. Not because he was wrong, but because he was always reacting. No space, no pause, no control. He couldn't let anything go, even small things. He'd replay moments in his head, conversations that didn't matter. He lost trust, not because he lied, but because people felt unsafe around his chaos. He was present, but never peaceful. He was smart, but never steady. He said he wanted respect, but what he wanted was relief. Relief from the storm he made inside himself. You might know someone like him, or you might be him. Real strength isn't loud. It's not about quick comebacks or sharp responses. It's about stillness, not the kind that comes from fear, the kind that comes from choice. This is emotional detachment, not coldness, but control. You still feel everything. You just don't obey every feeling. You observe without obeying. You withhold the response. You watch the trigger rise and let it pass. This isn't weakness. It's ownership. Most people speak before they see clearly. They react before they understand. But mastery waits. It listens. It sees 10 steps ahead before moving one. And in that pause, power builds. You don't need to explain. You don't need to be right. You don't need to correct. You become the one who doesn't flinch, the one no one can read. And that mystery makes you stronger. Non-reaction isn't passive. It's precise. It means nothing pulls you off your center. It means you decide when to act and when to stay still. And that's when you start leading. Non-reactive discipline isn't built in public. It's built in quiet moments no one sees. You feel the urge to speak, and you wait. You hear something rude, and you breathe. You want to correct, and you pause. Not because you're afraid, because you've trained yourself to stay. Still, delayed response is a weapon. Silence in chaos is a shield. You don't rush to be heard. You don't move just to move. You sit with the discomfort. You let the emotion rise, but you don't follow it. This isn't about looking calm. It's about being calm, even when no one's watching. You practice control when it doesn't matter, so you own it when it does. This isn't glamour. No one will clap for your restraint, but the results show over time. People trust you more. You lead without trying. Because you're not ruled by noise. You've made space between trigger and action. And that space is where power lives. How much power have you leaked just this week? How many moments did you give away without thinking? Not because you were weak, but because you didn't pause. Now imagine a man who feels everything, but shows nothing unless he chooses. He's not cold, he's composed. He speaks when it's time, he moves when it matters. Nothing pulls him off center. Because he trained for stillness. And now, it protects him. If you still react, you're not the one in control. Your emotions are, and they don't care who sees the damage. If you're done bleeding power in public, stay close. We're not here to shout. We're here to rebuild, in silence, not for show, for strength.